Hi guys, Avish Drutu here, and today I'll be demonstrating on how to configure a roaming profile and a home folder for a selected user. Right now, a roaming profile allows the user the privilege to have his or her settings be pretty much mobile throughout a domain. Right, if a user was to log on to one computer, do their own personalizing, and probably have a few documents and stuff. Right, when that user logs off, all of what was on that computer and on the domain would have been backed up remotely onto the server, right? So whenever that user was to log on to another computer, all those original configurations and documents and stuff like that, anything that that user was working on would now be on their new computer, right? Now, this is pretty much a very convenient and safe way to go because, I mean, the user has everything at his or her fingertips, and it makes backing up stuff a lot easier, right? Because everything is just stored, server wide, like server side. So, in case a client's machine is crashed, their contents would have already been backed up, right? And that's what the roaming profile offers. Now, the home folder basically offers something similar, but it's just a centralized storage area for that user to store like documents or anything of like any sort of content so that it presents itself actually as a shared drive to whenever that user logs on anywhere on the domain, right, with his or her profile, those documents and stuff become available to them by means of the shared drive, right? So in order to create or set up these two folders, we first need to have a user, right? So I have a user John Doe, right? And well, he is pretty much created already and good to go. So I'll use him, right? Now I will go into the C drive of Windows Server 2008, right? And here I will create two new, well, and individual folders, one called roaming profile and the other one called home folder, right? And next I will need to set up the sharing properties of each of these folders individually so that they can be accessible throughout the network. So this one I will add everyone, right? And I will give them the permissions of being a co-owner. Click share. Nice, so that is done shared, and this is the profile path here. Right, so I click done. Right, next I will go to the home folder and do pretty much the same thing. So I add everyone, right? Set their permission level to being a co-owner, so that means they could read and write and pretty much modify stuff, right? So I set done. Now, although this is for a domain purpose, right? Selecting everyone is still safe because by default, all profiles that are on a domain have a default level of security that is embedded into them, which prevents other users then or those with no higher rank of privilege or rights to view or alter any other user data or contents, right? So it's still protected even though I selected other everyone. Good. So now that that is there, let me just go back to sharing. So here I will copy the path to this folder, right? Go into Active Directory on the John Doe on a profile. Now in this field here, this is for the roaming profile. It's the path here. So I will copy the server path, right? Followed by a system variable that we normally use to prevent any typos or just to basically no errors when it comes to typing the name of the user, right? So this variable is percent username percent, and it allows me or any administrator or account creator to set up profiles with for people with long and pretty much difficult names, and it automatically inputs that user's name or the name of that profile that is being created into this box here, right? Likewise for when it is with the home folder, right? So let me just go back to the C drive here, and oops, then I will just right click and go to properties to get the path to which this folder is, copy it, right, and I'll paste it in here. Again, using the same variable that was used earlier, that being the percent username percent. So when I click apply, there you see that variable being changed to the name of the user, which is John Doe, as indicated up here, right? So it's just a little technique to ensure accuracy when creating profiles and no names get mixed up, stuff like that, right? So I select OK. Let me just actually make sure I get good. I know I select OK, and that is pretty much set up, right? So what I'll do is I have to now go to Windows 7 and Windows Vista so that I can log in and log out back to back and do some changes, create some documents, stuff like that, and just to show you quickly how this works, right? So let me just log into my Windows 7 machine. I'll minimize 2008. Alright, so input, nice, so John Doe. Right, so the desktop is being loaded. Nice. So now I can just do some little, okay, so Windows 7. This is just to create a whole set of randomized items here just to show this interconnected. So okay, see this now. Right, and in here I can also create a new text document or something. Right, so I just did some little randomizing there. Also, I can just like personalize this a little bit, right? So I'll just select it as architecture just to change the theme. Right, anything else I want to do? That's pretty much it. Right, so here we have two items, Windows 7 and Tron stuff, along with creating, well, personalizing a theme a little bit. So now if I were to log off from this, once I go on to Windows Vista, all the changes that I have made here should be reflected on that virtual machine, right? So, or that desktop, I should say. So now I just minimize Windows 7 and bring up Windows Vista, right? So now I will just log in using the same profile, John Doe. Alright. And here we should, well, it takes a little while. Good. And there we go, right? So basically, everything that was done on Windows 7 is now on Windows Vista, right? As if I did not change machine at all, right? So yeah, I have John's stuff and the new text document. So just to show this back to back, I will rename this to um, so I just put that there, save it, right? Good. So once I were to log off from here now, you know what? Let me just do a little bit more personalizing, right? So not much things I can do here. Okay, now no personalizing for that. Let me just create something randomly. Right, bitmap image, pick one. Right, just yeah. Alright, so once I log off and I log back onto my Windows 7 machine, right, or my another desktop, then all what was have done recently on Windows Vista will be present. Nice. Right, so let's just see, and here we go. So this just shows that the connectivity between Windows 7 and Windows Vista via the use of a roaming profile has been set up, right? Now I will go to test the connectivity of the home folder, right? Now once I go in my computer, as you can see here, this is the shared drive or the home folder basically that is mapped and in this profile of Windows 7, right? So once I open this up, I can, let me just copy and paste, or cut and paste everything in here, right? And probably just create something new uh, right? So testing home folder, right? So once I log off, Now there's nothing on the desktop, right? Actually, I'm gonna just personalize this too, right? I'll just change the theme there. Nice, so there's nothing on the desktop, I changed theme, plus we stored some contents in the homing folder. So now I will log off of Windows 7 and go on to Windows Vista where I should see the same thing happening over there, right? So nice. Right, so look, this theme and everything here is just as if I was on my Windows 7 machine. We have the Windows 7 theme itself, then nothing on the desktop because we have moved everything to our home folder as indicated here, right? So that just shows everything is working flawlessly, right? Now that concludes demonstration on this home folder and setting up a roaming profile for a particular user, right? Now, one other thing that I should mention, right, is that in an environment where there are a lot of, well, a larger domain and a lot of departments and multiple users in the same department that share in the same resources, a network administrator typically wants to create, well, more profiles with the same level of privilege, access to resources, stuff like that, right? So what that administrator or account operator would do is that he would, instead of like creating an individual profile right there and having to retype all of the configurations for that profile, a quick technique is that you can easily copy this folder here. Like I will right click on, let me just go back again, right click on John Doe in this case, select copy, right? And I will just type in Mary Berry, right? Right, so next, as you can see here, now by default, this window is normally checked when you create a profile from scratch without doing any sort of copy and stuff, right? This is more or less like a security measure for having when users log on for the first time, they change their password because it's not wise to have the default password set as their profile, right? As it compromises security. So I will just for this demonstration uncheck that, set it a password never expires, right? And just set the default password. Oops, it will match. Right. Nice. So the profile for Mary Berry has been created, right? Now, let's just take a look here, right? Now, in the profile path and the home folder path, the the path then to the server has already been inputted, including the name Mary Perry. Right now, this is so because that variable that was used earlier when we was creating, well, in creating John Doe's profile, right, which is the percent username percent, allows the username of that profile to automatically be inputted regardless of whose profile it is. Once you're copying the original profile with that variable, right, and making another profile using those same conditions, that variable will always be there to take the username of the profile that you are creating, right? So in this case, I copied John Doe, but because it was percent username percent, it took over Mary Perry's name, right? Same for the homing folder here. So once I click OK and I log on with this user's profile, it will gain the same privilege as if John Doe previously did, where whatever content was stored on on her desktop when she logged in, she would get the same contents if she was to log on to another computer on the same domain or network, right? So that's that. And that basically concludes this demonstration on setting up a roaming profile and a home folder. Hope it was helpful. Thanks for viewing. Bye bye.